Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Geek Bytes podcast. This is episode number 159. I'm Ramon, Mejia.
I'm Edgardo, Acosta.
And every single week on the podcast, we bring you the roundup of the week's best geek and tech news. We discuss that news and, of course, anything else we happen to be interested in that week. And this week, we have some great Patreon supporters. I want to give a shout out to quickly first, including Prax Vendor, Emily Rose, and Eric Rounds. Thank you all for being such great supporters and making sure that this this podcast and the videocast stays free and ad-free and free to the public. So thank you guys very much.
Yeah, thank you.
And of course, if anybody else wants to help support the podcast, you can always visit us at patreon.com/GeekBytes podcast. That's the actual name for this particular podcast. That actually matches for once. In geek news, though, we have some great stories for you, including some cool stuff.
Yeah, let's talk about Deadpool 2, Star Trek Land, the Dirty Muppets movie, supervillain casting, TV show renewals and cancellations, the movie trailer showdown, and much more.
Absolutely. Of course, we begin our show, though, with geek news. And in geek news, we of course begin with some of the more interesting stories, including some stuff about Deadpool. Deadpool 2 came out recently, not too long, I think it was last week. And man, it blew out the box office. It did so great. It actually opened with an estimated $125 million ticket sales in the US and Canada. Actually upset the Avengers movie Infinity War, scoring the second highest debut ever for a rated R movie. So there you go. I think the first one was actually Deadpool 1.
Yeah.
So
it did well enough that obviously it didn't do great Infinity War numbers money, but still it was great.
This is really good. I mean, for a domestic debut, that's really nice. I mean, I'm sure that overcovers the expense they put into the movie already.
Yeah, and obviously we were kind of, I don't want to say hiatus for the past couple weeks.
We had things to do. So
life
events,
real world stuff, But yeah, you saw Infinity War.
Yeah, I saw Infinity War.
And Deadpool 2?
Saw Deadpool 2. They were both great movies. I like Deadpool better.
Yeah.
It was more entertaining. Like Infinity Wars was fun and interesting to see all like your favorite Marvel action superheroes come together. It felt like, one of those things you do with your friends when you were a kid, like, oh no, Spider-Man and the Avengers are all in the same thing. It's not something we'd ever thought we'd see in the theaters with all the different licensing agreements that exist in the world. So it was fun on that respect. And of course, the storyline was great and amazing. And the ending was interesting. I love Thanos as the character, probably the best out of anybody who was like really introduced to that was new.
Oh yeah.
A lot of like his like henchmen weren't that interesting. Like they were there and they were like like fighters, but Thanos was definitely the star of that film. And Deadpool 2 was just entertaining. I loved all the twists that they put in there, like all the marketing stuff that they did for like the X-Force. I was like, oh, that's why they showed all those people off. No spoilers if you so plan to watch it, but like, oh, there were definitely some very unusual things that they did with those characters. I thought, oh, that's cool.
Exactly. The only spoiler that I'll give for Deadpool 2, which I found kind of like, I honestly wasn't really looking for it, but wondering what happened, was the Stan Lee cameo.
Oh yeah, he shows up in there somewhere, I think.
There was, according to from what I read, because I was trying to remember. Usually Stan Lee obviously saw Deadpool 1. Yeah, he was the DJ at the strip bar, but in this one, supposedly he wasn't physically there. They did a supposed to be a spray paint or a wall monument or something. Yeah, and I'm like, I totally missed that. I probably had to watch the movie again.
That's too bad. Well, he's getting older. I think he's currently in a lawsuit with his old company, POW Entertainment, for like I think something like millions of dollars.
Of money.
So that's a separate issue, I think. But I like Deadpool too. I like it more than the Avengers Infinity War, actually.
Yeah, I think the only debate right now is saying there maybe not be a 3. But
Ryan Reynolds, I think we talked about this in last podcast when we did a couple weeks ago, was that Ryan Reynolds, like, he's not sure how you can make a Deadpool 3 movie when inherently Deadpool has to have his life, all the happy things in his life taken away.
Exactly.
Like he kind of could see like, oh, you could do it with like the X-Force, like Deadpool in a team movie, but like Deadpool as a solo film again, as like Deadpool 3, like maybe not so much.
Well, of course, with the whole Disney thing, they weren't sure what was going to happen. And right now, kind of related, with everything with Marvel related. Did you hear about Universal Studios? Oh, not Universal Studios, but NBC Universal.
Like they were making an alternate bid.
And they wanted to bid cash. For
was it NBC or was it Comcast? I can't remember. Like it was, I think, one of the parent companies.
NBC Universal, they kind of own all that stuff. So they're right now talks about possibly outbidding Disney, which obviously Disney got money.
That's money. That's extra billions of dollars. I don't think the original IP developers will have any issue with selling to the highest bidder.
Exactly.
It's just want to get one of those things like, oh, not only is there government involvement in making it like a big monopoly, but also like competitors, which is, I guess, good for them. Not so awesome for our crossover fantasies.
Exactly, because everybody wants to see the X-Men and Fantastic Four back in the hands of Marvel.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so good stuff there. On to some other geek news. We have Star Trek Land. That might be a thing, folks. This is kind of a related story to an earlier one we had on Star Wars Land, in that Disney plans to make Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. It's going to be like this resort kind of bit where you can stay in the hotel. You can actually stay in Star Wars, essentially. Like everything from the hotel and all the different park section is going to be themed towards Star Wars. Universal Studios is actually contemplating making their own version of that called Star Trek Land. We have a photo on the video version of the podcast, of course, of the Star Wars experience that was supposed to be in Las Vegas. Yeah. It was originally supposed to be a full-scale model of the Star Trek Enterprise. I believe the original one from the original version of Star Trek. And it didn't turn out that way. Obviously, it ended up being like this just building with like a really good experience, though. I remember going to Las Vegas to watch it. It shut down in 2008. But dreams are kind of hoping that something like this comes back, that you actually get a Star Trek Land where you get to explore other different characters, maybe stay there as a hotel experience. That those can all be things that Universal Studios has been doing, because they've really been rather competitive with Disneyland in Florida. That experience for Universal Studios is apparently pretty amazing. Like they have a lot more space to do stuff. The California version, not so awesome. I mean, as compared to Disneyland. But Universal Studios is very competitive in Florida. So cool stuff there. And hopefully this is going to be true.
Because I did take advantage of the Star Trek experience out in Vegas. Yeah. It was fun. Got the big gigantic fishbowl thing. It was called like I forgot what it was called, the Scorpion something or Tricorder or something.
Yeah, it's always fun to like see like the staff there who cosplaying as like Klingons and stuff,
Borgs, all that, and it's like and they had the best part is, and people have had weddings there. The deck. Yeah. The deck with the captain's chair, everything. They got Klingons and all that being your best man or maid of honor or whatever you have going on there. It's all decked out. So if you're a hardcore, it's definitely the thing to do. But for this one, I don't know. Would you want to go check out a giant size scale of the Enterprise?
I wouldn't mind. I mean, I would genuinely think about staying there overnight. I mean, I'm also considering staying at the Star Trek or Star Wars hotel as well.
That one kind of makes more sense.
Either way, I mean, I'm a fan of both. I like Star Trek as the television series better than Star Wars, but Star Wars is also fun for me. I had this huge debate with a bunch of like Little Bridge authors last night when we were doing like a Drinking with Charles episode. There's like 5 Little Bridge authors, and one of the questions was like, where would you rather live, Star Trek or Star Wars? And it was a huge debate about which franchise sucked the most. It was quite entertaining, but it kind of really sits in that, I like Star Wars slightly better.
Yeah, because to me, Star Wars has more of a like actual physical element of places you can explore. Compared to Star Trek, you can do it all in a holodeck.
Yeah, that also means some very interesting experiences in the holodeck as well. So cool stuff there, but interesting news for the Trekkies in your life. Now, in other entertainment news, we have I'm not sure if we've missed this trailer now, but it's the trailer for a hard R puppet film called The Happy Time Murders are actually being sued. The people who make the film are being sued by the people who own the intellectual property for Sesame Street, because in the trailer, like, this is not your Sesame Street, no Sesame, all street. And that's part of their marketing campaign, that they're puppets. Yeah, they're puppets. And so Sesame Workshop, who owns that intellectual property, have filed suit in New York against the company who's making that film. The film itself is super hard R. I'm not sure how people are going to react to it. I think it's hilarious to see Muppets doing these crazy, dirty, and violent things, like chopping off a head and like just seeing foam coming out. And it has Melissa McCarthy, who's super funny. But the movie's Happy Time Murders is directed by Brian Henson, whose father Jim Henson helped create Sesame Street. So it's that same company, or it's the same It's the same Henson name.
Yeah,
and they're also using their puppeteers.
Yeah, because they have the look. The voices sound something like straight out of Sesame Street.
Doesn't own Muppets.
Exactly. My thing is, I saw it. You saw the trailer, obviously.
Yeah, right? I saw the trailer. Super. I don't remember.
Jokes,
did we? I don't think if we showed it on the show the last couple weeks after it was.
I don't think so, because I honestly saw it maybe like last week, and that's when we were on our little hiatus, if you will. Great lines on there. Especially the little Muppet whores are like, want to get rotten with some cotton, and I was like, ugh.
No, it's like I said, definitely. This is not for kids. It's definitely a hard R. Like, there's violence, there's sex, there's drugs. It seems super hilarious to me, but I happen to like Muppets, and so an adult version of this absolutely makes me kind of giggle.
Oh yeah,
exactly how rated R it is. I'm hoping it to be very funny.
Yeah, because the closest thing they've done something like this before, not exactly in a movie, but in a TV format. Did you ever remember an old TV show with Seth Green called Greg the Bunny?
Yeah, I remember Greg the Bunny.
Yeah, Greg the Bunny was pretty out there.
This makes Greg the Bunny look like a regular Sesame Street. Like, this is, I mean, really, there's so much here in this trailer that's absolutely inappropriate if you remember Muppets as a kid, but it is so super funny.
That's the part that I'm wondering. I know it's going to get complaints. Parents are going to say like, oh, no. Well, that's the thing. It's a rated R movie.
It's rated R. It's very clearly not for children. But like the Muppet property, the idea of the Muppets is very very in the line of many people very child related, I guess.
Yeah, unless they do go the route of as Family Guy does, or a lot of places do satire and have a parody. Yeah. So they have a big bird, but they call it large jello aviating.
Oh yeah, like the
poultry or something like that.
How that works out. But yeah, so we had one viewer for a second, and then they went away.
That's fine.
I was like, oh hey, viewer. Like, sometimes you get some lag, but it's so funny.
But it's gonna be. I'm checking it out for sure. What stuck out to you that like, oh my god, I gotta watch this?
I just think the entire crime drama detective thing with Muppets was an intriguing enough combination by itself. Like, Melissa McCarthy kind of makes it very entertaining, but the Muppets themselves are also surprisingly interesting and well acted. That's one of the things. You can do acting with a Muppet, I guess.
Now I remember another thing that was pretty kind of raunchy that was puppet related. You ever watch? It was on Comedy Central, a TV show called Crank Yankers.
Yeah, I remember Crank Yankers. They were the crank phone call, the reenactment with puppets, kind of thing, and they just did the voices what the Muppets were reenacting. And I think this is a better quality than that, but still entertaining. But we're going to move on to our next news topic, but it's definitely one I plan to watch when it comes out. Next story, Boba Fett. That is not the thing at all. I pressed the wrong button. There you go. Boba Fett is getting his own Star Wars anthology film. So that's actually going to be official. They actually tapped Logan director James Mangold to write and direct it. So that's actually going to be there. For a very long time. There were rumors of a Boba Fett movie and a Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, but at least one of them has an actual director and a writer who's going to be making the film. So is there anything in this particular movie that you would like to see?
I just want to know how it's going to take place. Like, if it's going to be a montage of him growing up, because obviously you saw the prequels. We saw little Boba Fett.
He could do little Boba Fett. He's old enough. He's an adult now, so he could actually be Boba Fett.
Exactly. I'm just wondering if he's going to do the same route as in Kylo Ren and have his decapitated father's head still in the helmet somewhere around. I
don't know if he's going to do that, but I would love to. I mean, I think the bounty hunter premise has legs as far as storytelling goes.
Yeah, and there's
like
a large
chasing down
base.
Things, hunting down Jedis, like the Last of the Jedi, maybe before you get into episode 3.
Yeah.
There's a lot of time frame there that they can work with to tell some really good and interesting stories.
And that was the part surprising about Boba Fett, because he was the most popular character that had the least screen time out of all of them in the Star Wars movies.
Doug Dimment.
Yep.
Give us a nice little thumbs up. Hey, thanks, Doug.
Thank you. But yeah, I'm definitely want to check it out. They're probably going to have a whole history of the whole bounty hunters, how they got together, hopefully, and them on their little escapades. And especially with you're dealing Boba Fett, maybe you, especially connecting into which one was it, Return of the Jedi or Empire with Jabba the Hutt.
I want to say Return of the Jedi, I think.
Yeah. So
I could be mistaken.
Maybe they'll have some interaction with him. They'll bring him back.
But it's good stuff there. So that's good news. In other good entertainment news, we have Gundam. Gundam's going to be a live action movie, apparently. Steven Spielberg's Ready Player One kind of got fans excited to actually see a real Gundam in a real movie. like a live-ish action sort of thing. So Hollywood apparently has said, yeah, let's go try that out. Wraps information about the actual, the script and who's directing it are still under wraps, unfortunately. But we do know that there are people who are making plans to start filming a live-action Gundam movie starting next year. So.
Yeah. It got everybody happy, especially that little it was mostly pushed in the Asian market. That one fight scene between the Gundam and the like Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah,
and everybody's like, "Oh my god!"
It's a good scene, and it was fun to kind of see the Gundam come back as like a real thing. I know in like anime circles, it's still like there are plenty of Gundam properties even now that are being made and put out every couple of years. But to see it in a live action version on the big screen was kind of neat and exciting. Even though like that particular character, Gundam, wasn't in the book. There are still versions of it, and so I was still happy to see it. It was fun to me still.
Oh yeah, it's way popular. They create live scale replica Gundam.
Oh yeah, there's so we talked about it for a couple of weeks ago about like the latest version of that where it's like it lifts up, it moves around, the lights come up, and it's like it's life size for what it's supposed to be, which means it's like 3 stories tall. And Domingo Jose Fuentes says hello. Hey Domingo.
Hey Domingo.
Jose Fuentes.
Della this of the Sutton those are Niles or whatever. Hey Domingo. Glad to see you on.
Okay, so that's a fun thing. More fun things, though, in entertainment news. We have Jake Gyllenhaal is apparently in talks to play the role of Mysterio in the next Spider-Man Homecoming film. But we do know that the Michael Keaton will be returning as the Vulture for sure. So we have 2 named characters for the next Spider-Man Homecoming film. I'm not a big fan of like doubling up on villains every movie. Well, that always feels like a weird thing. Oh, in 1 you have 1 villain, and in number 2 you have 2 villains, and in 3 you have 3 villains. Well, that always feels weird to me.
Well, that's the thing, dude. Especially if you know your world of comics, that's just 2 members away from the Sinister Six.
Yes, that is true.
And that was supposed to be a movie that they were going to do with the Spider-Man franchise that hopefully will turn about. The thing is with Mysterios, I loved how they adapted, even though they got the classic comic book look.
It's kind of a dumb character to me, but yeah.
Exactly. The whole giant fishbowl thing compared to, like, obviously Vulture. That's a picture that we have on the screen.
Yeah.
Everybody thought was going to be like that. But
mechanical Vulture.
The mechanical Vulture, it played off very well with the aviator jacket.
Kind of felt like, it was play off of like the Iron Man suit. Yeah. That kind of technology, that kind of look. Like older dated version of Iron Man suit with like actual wings. Now I did like the fact that they compared him to Tony Stark, and that he's an inventor and he makes stuff. He just doesn't have access to the same technology, so he feels like he's tilted. So he makes it towards he sells it towards criminals instead.
Now with Mysterio being a master mysticism. He
wasn't like an illusionist. He wasn't really he didn't have actual magical powers.
He was a special effects guy.
Yeah, he's a special effects dude, which always seems like 2nd or 3rd rank kind of villain to me. Maybe he'll get extra powers, or maybe he'll get tech from the Vulture. I think that would be very, very interesting as well. So we'll have to wait and see what the storyline is going to be between them, or maybe they're going to be the beginning of the Sinister Six. Like they'll bring in some other characters, and that's a revolving door of villains as well. So you can kind of peg in whoever you want to.
And these, obviously these are 2 characters that they really haven't done in the Marvel universe that are especially part of the Sinister Six. The only other members that are on there that they have done in these past Spider-Man movies is Dr. Octopus.
Yep.
The other members of Sinister Six is, if I'm right, well, they kind of had the Rhino.
They did the Rhino. They did the mechanical version of the Rhino.
They've already had Electro.
Which was not done well.
Exactly. The other one that they haven't done, which the concept would be pretty interesting to see, is Kraven the Hunter.
They did do Shocker in Spider-Man Homecoming, which I thought was pretty decently done. He's, again, like almost a secondary villain. Yeah.
Which is weird because they actually had still shots of on the set of a costumed Shocker.
Yeah, but they didn't must have cut that out. They just used the handheld thing and made it like secondary. Maybe they plan to bring him back later on for this Homecoming movie. Like he's still like a henchman under the Vulture. So we'll have to wait and see what actually comes out of that. In other entertainment news, we have casting for Bullseye. For Daredevil Season 3, he's going to be appearing, and he's going to be played by Wilson Bethel, who's best known for his work in Heart of Dixie. So in Season 3 Daredevil, you're going to get, of course, Matt Murdock as the Daredevil, but also the introduction of a major villain, Bullseye.
Mm-hmm. So they're going with a different alternative compared to the movie storyline, because obviously Bullseye, spoiler, does kill Elektra.
Yeah.
And they did show a semi, I think it was on season 1, kind of behind a headshot of a character, marksman, that had the spade card. And everyone's like, is that Bullseye? Is that Bullseye? But they never made it official.
No, I always thought like in season 2, that guy he kills at the beginning, who kills himself, I should say. I always thought like he was going to end up being Bullseye. Like because he kind of gave Matt Murdock a run for his money as far as like in combat directly, and he was bald. So I'm like, oh, maybe Matt's going to be the dude. And he turned out not to be, since he murdered himself. But Bullseye is kind of a classic villain. I'm happy to see him come back. I think it's going to be this is my hypothesis for that particular introduction. Like I believe it's going to start off with Danny Rand taking the place of the Daredevil in like his neighborhood, like trying to fight crime, and he comes up against Bullseye, who he can't beat for some reason, and that brings back Matt Murdock, who had been hospitalized or maybe memory loss with his mom in the church hospital. Like and that's going to be part of like his character. Like, oh, choosing between giving up like this whole life and having peace with his family, and finally finding his mother, and that whole like emotional story arc, and going back and doing what he feel like he's meant to do, like making the streets safer for the average citizen.
So you're telling me you're not secretly writing script for season 3 of Deadpool?
No.
I mean Deadpool Daredevil.
I would love to write for either one of them, but that is what I think is going to happen.
Well, I'd watch that. Yeah, I'd watch that for sure.
Okay, so more entertainment news. Thundercats, they're back. Just not as you quite remember them.
I'm sorry, I'm one of those people.
No, absolutely. I saw the trailer for this. We'll pull it up here.
For this.
Yeah, but the EW announced
Thundercats Roar.
An animated version of this. Thundercats, it's called Thundercats Roar. They do like this cartoony as heck kind of thing, and it feels more Saturday morning cartoon, which is fine. That's what it originally was, but this feels very Adventure Time.
Adventure Time, World of Gumball. It's just the whole funky animated style. There's been a lot of debates between the hardcore fans of the kids that grew up on it, which, let's be honest, they're 30-year-old people now.
Yeah. They have a particular journey, and it's not the first time that they've redone the Thundercats. So they did a more serious version of it that again didn't do well. They had got a season. And that's the fact that they're trying something new to appeal to a younger audience. They're still kind of keeping the same adventure-ish kind of feel to it. They're just doing it in a different art style.
Yeah.
Essentially with music, and maybe it's going to be a shorter format, like the Teen Titans Go, where they are like small little bits, and they can play them wherever they want to. They can insert them almost like little commercials, and maybe that's going to work for them. Maybe that'll like reinvigorate their franchise for children.
And the Teen Titans Go obviously did well enough that you saw the trailer for the Teen Titans Go's movie that for Deadpool when you saw it, and there was kind of a Deadpool joke in it too.
No, there is, with the Green Lantern saying that, oh yeah, there was a Green Lantern movie, we just don't talk about it. It's at the John what's his name? Not John Jones. It's the
John Stewart.
John Stewart. Yeah, John Stewart.
So I will. Well, I'll give it a chance. I'm very open-minded. I'll give it a chance, even though
I'll watch like an episode and then I'll get mad about it.
Exactly.
But at least try.
Yeah, because there's a lot of once again the 30-year-olds that grew up on the original. They're like, oh, it's wrong. But there was this one satire where they're like, it's a kid's cartoon. You're a 30-year-old man.
I don't care. I still read comics and I watch anime, and that's kind of the concept. Like people's viewpoints of like what constitutes being adult is just like shifting a little bit because of like geek and nerd culture. Those things that you did as a kid are still acceptable in some circles as an adult, like buying cartoons, buying action figures, watching anime, which is like for some people just, they're foreign cartoons. I'm like, yeah.
But that's why, especially with
but you also get cool like adult animation like Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
So like they're varying degrees of the stuff.
But they also got to realize that, for you might market something for kids, but let's be honest, it's the adults that are cupping up the money that are buying all that merchandise.
Yeah, so either way, I think this is obviously a big merchandising pull. Somebody's using it. Danny Martinez throws in the word Phoenix Saga. I don't know what that means.
I'm thinking probably when we're talking about the Marvel stuff. So,
oh no, we're on Teen Titans, but yeah, like
so Thundercats roared. Like I said, well, I'll watch the episode. We'll watch the episode. We'll give our review on it. But yes, as much as I would love to see the original come back, I did like the anime style of the other version that came out.
Like there are a couple versions of it, but
sadly just didn't go.
It was like
further than it should.
It was like young Lion-O living on his world. He wasn't like Crash Landing I think. He was just like his like a fantasy world where his father got dethroned and he was trying to come back to it. But they had like, discover his coming of age story to like get there and stuff. And that was a fine story. It's just it kind of petered out for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So there you go. So maybe that'll be it. Maybe we won't. We'll give it a shot. More entertainment news. We have some information on the Lord of the Rings Amazon series, which they spent billions of dollars to purchase, and they're going to spend billions of dollars with B again to actually make I think they have it for like 6 seasons plan or something. Like it's like a huge. It's a long plan. So if you're going to invest that much money into it, I guess I understand wanting to get the most out of it. But rumors have surfaced that the storyline is going to revolve around a young Aragorn and his coming of age story, I guess.
You have to. Reason being, because especially if you're going to have a guy for 6 seasons that's a really good point, yeah. In real world / TV world, that's 6 years, depending on how they're going to film this.
Yeah, that's 6 years of shows. And even if they're doing like shorter versions of this where it's going to be like 10 episodes or something, that's still 60 episodes. And if it's going to be the longer version, like 20 episodes or 23, that's 126 or 138 or something.
So get those DVRs ready and hope you have that extra space.
Whatever it is. 6 years.
But people are going to watch it. Hopefully it doesn't become a big train wreck and they're like, no, you can't do that because he wasn't like this.
No. They're definitely going to be, if they're going to spend that much money on like getting the rights from like the J.R.R. Tolkien like estate, they're going to like make the effort to like make it good, faithful to the source material, and there's plenty of stuff there to draw from, but also create new stories and new tales within this world without like messing up, like having to like retcon like the story or something. Like I don't know if they're going to be like cameos, but like as a general fantasy adventure story, this will still work. It's just going to be interesting to see like who comes back from the original movies, like who they can pay enough to like come. I think that Gandalf has already said, he would be willing to show up in the film or in the television version
as Gandalf.
Yeah, why not? I mean, where do you think Aragorn came from? Like, how do you think he found out about hobbits? Gandalf told him, which means there's already a connection there. And it's just, he was like, yeah, nobody's asked me yet, but I'd be more than willing to do a TV show. I think he likes money.
So
there you go. I mean, he's like, I'm an actor. I don't care what. I mean. Amazon money, who cares? It's a fine role. He's like, I'm not doing hardcore porn, so I'm happy to like pay my bills with this.
Or at least those tapes haven't leaked out yet. So.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Next in entertainment news, we have some information. This is like a slightly older story because we were been off for a little bit. But last week, Warner Brothers renewed the show Lethal Weapon for a 3rd season. Except without one of the main stars. Clayton Crawford's contract was canceled, and he's being replaced with Sean William Scott. You might remember from Stifler from the American Pie movies. He's coming in as that same character. So there you go. Additional information came out from Damon Wayans after Crawford's contract were canceled, with like 5 or 6 tweets with video showing the graphic videos like him being hurt on set, and like Crawford like essentially like instituting, because he was the one directing it. He was directing the episode, and so Dwayne Wayans basically feels like he was intentionally hurt because of like personality issues. And so I mean those tweets have disappeared, but those original leak came out of his Twitter account. And he was just kind of waiting to see like if the show were renewed and if that character came back, and he's not. So I think that was a very interesting way to vent.
So what do you think? Kill him off? That guy, Sean Scott being the brother, or
no? I think he just replaced him. Like they don't say anything.
They just pretend that never happened.
Yeah, the Lethal Weapon franchise has these two characters. You can't replace one with like, oh, I'm his cousin who's even more reckless.
Yeah.
No, you just replace them, and that it is what it is.
Yeah, I was hearing the story, but I didn't know the details about the.
Oh no, yeah, there were accusations of like violence and just like personality issues of like him like yelling at people, and especially on the episode that he got to direct, and.
So what do you think? Blacklisted now? He's not going to do anything anymore.
No. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you have other examples of like people who are forgiven for bad behavior because of stress or whatever it is on the set. And I know he tried to go out with like class, like, oh, I'm sad that my time on the show has ended, and how I wish everyone good luck or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, this personality can be a big thing for casting.
Well,
but it is good that it's coming back because a lot of people liked it.
I haven't watched it.
I watched an episode, I think, when I was in the hospital. My brother went to the hospital, and like I saw it. I was like, oh, did this come out? I remember we talked about the trailer when it first came out.
Yeah.
And we were like is this something that needs to be?
I guess it's doing well enough.
Yeah, so on into some other television-related stuff. A bunch of television shows got canceled and renewed this last couple weeks. There was a huge whole list there from EW that kind of talked about it, like tons and tons of shows. Was there anything on that list, man, that you were surprised got canceled or renewed?
Let's see. You want to go down the list real quick?
Sure. I know there's some episodes that I was surprised. I was like, oh, this is still a show, or this is so there are all kinds of things. Like there's too many probably to call out.
Oh my gosh.
CBS,
oh my god.
CBS, Fox, ABC, the CW, NBC, like all the big networks basically, all their shows.
This is pretty much a lot of people are unemployed now.
Well, some are employed, some are not. Like a lot of these are also say renewed, which is great. I mean, if you feel like The Big Bang Theory, it got renewed for another season. They're paying those people like some Friends level money at this point,
probably $1 million an episode
to keep them there. I think more than in some cases for some of the bigger shows, which is kind of weird because like some of the other characters get a lot less, like the Indian guy and the Jewish, basically the ethnicities.
Yes.
Are getting like smaller paychecks as opposed to like the big stars like Penny or something.
Oh, well, of course, because they're the main.
NCIS is back. Young Sheldon got renewed. A lot of shows, The Mom, Bull, Hawaii Five-0 got renewed. Kevin Can Wait got canceled. So there's a lot of things there. So anything that you've been watching that you kind of wanted to look for?
Well, I was kind of glad that some of the shows that did get canned, they got picked up by other networks.
Yeah, that's part of their story. But like anything else besides those, like anything like you wanted to watch, like I'm surprised The Gifted is still around. I kind of forgot about it. Like that's the Marvel show. Where it's like young X-Men-ish. That's like that Superman. Oh, not Superman. The X-Men version of it with the girl from the Goldbergs.
Yeah.
And the guy from not Twilight, but it's the blood one for HBO. Yeah. I forget what it's called. True Blood. Yeah, True Blood. So we have him.
The one shows that got some fans kind of got surprised that they canceled though, or like Lucifer and Last Man on Earth, because they were funny and and entertaining, but I guess just not good enough.
Bringing in the ratings, apparently. Like there's some other ones, like Disney Survivor got canceled. I was surprised about. Nobody was surprised that Marvel's Inhumans got canceled. I was surprised that it was that they even tried it. I mean, after you got 1 or 2 episodes, and it was very clear that it sucked, especially by the numbers.
IMAX, even with the IMAX trying to like,
I'll give them credit that they tried to do something new. That they tried to make it like a big experience. They failed spectacularly, but I'm surprised that it wasn't canceled like a lot sooner.
Yeah, it didn't go the route of like Guardians of the Galaxy, because honestly, I thought Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm like, who's gonna want to watch these guys?
Yeah,
nobody cares or knows about them.
They did an amazing job with that. Yeah. They just didn't do as well with the Marvels and Inhumans.
Yeah,
I think they should have tied it in more with like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because that's where the Inhumans were first introduced.
Totally,
but they spun it off as this entire different universe, basically. Yeah. Not talking about like mutants at all, talking about other characters, and when we're not relating that particular story to like mutant kind and like the larger like Marvel universe, so then it doesn't really make sense. Lucifer also got canceled. I was sad about that. I was surprised. I think I got 2 seasons, maybe 3, but it seemed like a good show. Last Man on Earth finally got canceled. For a show about the Last Man on Earth, there were a lot of characters in that movie.
Yeah,
on that television show. And then we have The Expanse. Sci-Fi canceled it after its third season, so it was running on Sci-Fi for the third season, and Amazon saved it. They just recently picked it up, and so it's going to be on Amazon now for like season 4 going on. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Fox canceled that, but NBC saved it, so now it's going to be on an NBC show.
Which that kind of makes sense, because especially Adam Sandberg is SNL alum, so I'm thinking you're going to see some more SNL cameos on the show.
Yeah, definitely could be the case. Tremors, the television show, I thought that was sad that it got canceled before it actually aired.
I thought it was just sequel of movies on that one.
There's a trailer for it that never got aired on the Sci-Fi Network, so we actually know it's a real television show, and it was going to be on Sci-Fi. It stars Kevin Bacon. So he was going to be the main character, and it's going to be like, oh, the Graboids are back, and he's dealing with like his issues with his daughter, who thinks he's a loser, and some other like secondary and tertiary characters, and it was very, and then you see murders and you see like the cars coming down.
That makes me want to watch it now.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. Like, and watching, I was just like, people die in this. It felt like it was almost like the what's that called? The one with Ash, whose hand gets cut off with the chainsaw, his chainsaw hand.
Oh, Ash the Evil
Dead. Yeah, it feels like they're trying to go for like the Ash and the Evil Dead kind of feel. Like, oh, an older horror-ish campy movie coming back as a television series. Mm-hmm. And that was the vibe for it. And I legitimately wanted to watch this. Like, after watching the trailer, I was like, yeah, I will totally watch this movie, especially considering that they show the Graboids eventually at the end. It's like, how do you sustain it for a season or more? I don't know. It was hard enough to sustain it for a single movie, but it was there, and it got canceled. So
yeah, if I'm right, they did a part 6 or 5, and it's on Netflix.
They have so much stuff with varying character degrees.
Yeah.
But there you go. Also, Last Man Standing got revived. It got canceled last year, and it got brought back after the Brooklyn Nine-Nine was canceled.
Yeah, it's going to be on Fox.
Yeah, they're trying to go for a Roseanne vibe of like, oh, nostalgia-based television viewing.
Last Man Standing?
Yeah, that's the Tim Allen movie. The Tim Allen television show, where it's like they're trying to pull in like the crowd from Tool Time.
I kind of get it, because there is a lot of jokes in it, especially if you watch the first season or so.
Yeah, the mom comes back,
but different characters. Yeah. But there's always the inside jokes. So like, you remind me so much of my husband. Yeah, and you know, they brought out Al, and one of the jokes in there is like, he's all like, "Oh, say hi to your boys." He's like, "I have 3 girls." He's like, "I swear, I thought you had 3 boys."
Right.
So you know, good jokes in there. Wanted to bring it in. It got shut down supposedly for a lot of PC stuff.
No, it's definitely a lot of people didn't agree towards the other side of it. Yeah, it definitely feels a little more conservative, which kind of lines up with what Tim Allen's personal views are currently. But it's still very entertaining for a lot of people, including like my wife really liked it. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
It was good.
Also, another renewal news: Rick and Morty. The cartoon we were just talking about got renewed for 70 episodes.
So they don't do what I don't know how it works in the animated world. You get episodes instead of seasons.
Well, yeah, and that's mostly because you don't know how many seasons you're like. A lot of anime is only 13 episodes. Some, if they're really popular, 26. And some like will only come out for 6 or 7. It kind of depends on animation cost, because you kind of do it all at once. Like you have to plan those things out like at least a year or 2 in advance, and so you charge by episode, or at least you plan out your seasons by episode. So 70 more episodes might come down to like 7 seasons, or like that might be something like 3 or 4. Depending on how they, break up the storylines. But the fact that they're, guaranteed 7 episodes, oh yeah, you have at least a few more years with Rick and Morty before, it peters out. So that's good for me. I that's one of my favorite comedic shows that I've ever seen.
So hopefully the whole crew, invest their money wisely.
Yes. I think Rick Harmon's doing fine. Yeah. Okay. Now, just for some stuff for fun, that's it for geek news. One story for fun, then we'll move on to just the movie trailer showdown, where we have some trailers, we talk about it, we think about them, and we decide who wins. But first, just for fun, we have Spider-Man, the Japanese Spider-Man. Apparently, this is the 40th anniversary month for this particular show, which is Spider-Man in Japan, but he's not the Spider-Man necessarily. Like the Spider-Man, he still climbs walls, he shoots webs, but he also has a giant mech. that he jumps into. So there were definitely some story changes when Marvel sold this intellectual property to Japan for some international rights stuff. So this is definitely in the age of like, oh, Marvel is led by Stan Lee, and he's selling off rights to help keep the company afloat. And this is one of the products, which is not unentertaining, but it is different than regular Spider-Man.
I admit it, I liked it. You know, it has almost a feel of the 60s version of Spider-Man, but plus a giant mech.
Yeah, that's just like a weird giant mech for some reason.
And it's not even a spider-looking mech. It's a like lion kind of thing that just happens to have a web pattern.
It has
on
a web pattern
chest.
on it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it does have a feel of Power Rangers a little bit too as well.
Yeah. And he's supposed to save the world from like evil aliens or something. I can't remember. But it's definitely in the vein of like other characters of the time frame. Yeah, it's just like, it's weird that Spider-Man has a mech and he like throws a sword at some dudes.
I like it.
Yeah, like I said, it's entertaining. If you've never seen it, go check out some episodes on YouTube.
Yeah.
But that is our just for fun little bit there, folks. On to our movie trailer showdown, folks. We have 6 trailers this week that the last couple weeks that came out that were entertaining. We're going to go through each one of them. We can choose which one won for us this week. We're going to start off with Predator. The Predator. That's going to come out this year. It stars a bunch of people you don't know, but you also one that you may, Olivia Munn. And it's interesting, folks. The plot essentially is that an alien spaceship landed, and it's activated, and special forces guys in our modern world are sent to like investigate it, but they get wiped out or they get killed, and so it's like some alien hunting thing. And Olivia Munn is in there for some reason. I don't know why. It feels like they wanted some geek cred, I guess. Yeah. And I hope she doesn't ruin the film, but she exists there.
I'm a fan of the Predator series in general. Like I didn't care how bad it was, even with I love the crossovers of between Alien versus Predator. The whole concept was kind of just interesting. Like the kid finds the, I guess, little homing beacon or whatnot.
It's like a remote control for the spaceship or something.
Exactly. So it pretty much brings the Predators back to Earth, if you will. And there was just a whole battle on it. The only thing that was kind of interesting, because that was the whole alien concept, is the communication. Even though the Predators do talk somewhat, quote unquote, it was just mostly a weird combination of like gurgles and caws and clacks.
And there's also like them mimicking human speech. I do think this whole genetic mutation thing is absolutely stupid. Like that's the thing that Olivia Munn explains as the scientists, I guess. Whatever species they hunt, they adapt themselves genetically, so they're changing. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense at all, especially considering all the different alien species you see like mounted in the walls.
We'll just see if she keeps her top on. And
also, like she's using a gun and hiding the kid behind her, so like that means you're fighting, which hopefully gets you murdered.
She got that Psylocke training.
Yeah,
so
maybe that'll
work a sword.
I don't know. Next one is Hotel Artemis. This one actually seemed really fun. It has a bunch of characters that you know and love. Dave Bautista, Jodie Foster.
This feels like it was a book. I feel like this was a book that eventually got turned into a movie.
Might have been.
The whole concept of it sounds like really interesting.
No, it's like just the idea of like, oh, this is a hotel that's really a front for like an illegal hospital with like the best tools and the best things, and they don't ask questions.
Just as long as the check clears.
Yeah, and then things just go bad. Like they have their rules to help save people as long as you're like a member of the staff or a member of the staff or community in good standing. And then it goes into like, oh, Jeff Goldblum is like, we're people who break rules. Why would I follow your rules? Yeah. And it's very interesting concept, and it's rated R, but it's also like interesting. So I think it's cool. It's
almost like the honor amongst thieves kind of thing. Because, you got your clubhouse. We all have to go by the rules of the clubhouse and everything. And I guess the concept is somebody gets followed in. And so they're kind of outed, like, oh crap, they know what we are, where we are, and it goes from there.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I think the criminal enterprise everyone's supposed to know who this hotel is, so that they, can use it in the case of an emergency when they get hurt, when they can't go to a regular hospital. So fun stuff there. Yeah. Next one is Blackwater, which is just a Dolph Lundgren and Jean-Claude Van Damme film. That's the only reason it exists, that the two are there in the same film.
It's pretty much Universal Soldier reunion.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like, the less popular version of like the Sylvester Stallone, the what's it called? Not the Untouchables, the Expendables. Like the less popular version of the Expendables. Like Jean-Claude Van Damme didn't want to do that film, so he made his own. And Dolph Lundgren was like, sure, I can do this.
Once again, it's a paycheck. But yeah, if you were a fan of Universal Soldier, obviously you saw those two guys were bitter enemies on it, and it's pretty much them at it again. Yeah. The only difference, I don't know if they'll make any kind of homages to the Universal Soldier franchise.
Probably, yeah.
Because he was the one that, especially Dolph Lundgren, is the one character that stuck out, that he had that collection of human ears necklace. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, good stuff. Next one is the Sister Brothers. I thought this was going to be a comedy. I really did, like seeing John C. Reilly in there. I thought I was going to be like, oh, he's a funny man. He does comedy stuff. Mm-hmm. And so this is going to be a comedy, right? And nope, it turns out to be like a straightforward, rather serious looking a Western movie with like crime Western. And their brothers should do crime. And I'm like, oh, that is intriguing to see Joaquin Phoenix and John C. Reilly doing some very serious roles, potentially. I mean, John C. Reilly, mostly, he's like, it's a surprise that he's doing a serious role. Joaquin Phoenix does nothing but.
Yeah. It's just one of those kind of weird balances kind of thing, but everybody likes a Western. Actors love to do Westerns if they ever get a chance to do one, and this is the opportunity. It's one of like simple concepts, bare minimal kind of things. You don't have to go too crazy with effects, other than, of course, explosions and whatnot. But to me, the thing that I personally like about Westerns is appreciation of America before it got too modernized.
The Wild West that never was.
Oh, yeah.
So it is interesting. Kind of curious to see where it goes. So there you go. And let's see. We have Mowgli, which also came out as a trailer I think it was last week. After this commercial break, apparently.
No worries. So there's no singing in this one. So heads up on this one.
No. It's actually, to me, it feels not like, it's not the Jungle Book, but it's like the Jungle Book 2, because it's supposed to start off when Mowgli is imprisoned as like this sideshow
wild man.
Yeah, wild man, wild boy. Character. Like he goes back to the humans, but they don't treat him well because he doesn't understand them or something, and he's a wild boy. And Bagheera comes back and to save him and to rescue him,
take him back to the jungle.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. It's called Mowgli instead of like the Jungle Book. And the movie was actually delayed not because it wasn't finished, but because it was supposed to originally have come out when the Jungle Book, the Disney version of that, came out, and so they were going to compete head to head. And when you're facing Disney, you don't have a lot of a chance. You know what I mean? And this one is definitely a more serious version of that. And I think they made a good choice, like making it after the Jungle Book, because then it plays up in people's minds like, oh, this is the sequel to almost that movie. So you're kind of getting the same like promotional inspiration.
And they definitely had a budget for this one for sure. The effects, I'm going to say it's almost up there with the Jungle Book live action movie.
I agree.
You do get the talking animals
coming back. Yeah, a hurt Shere Khan, who's all burned, and he comes back with the pack in a very much of the Lion King kind of way. So
you'll get all your favorite characters on there. There are celebrity voice and whatnot.
You see everybody. If you look at the trailer, you see the snake and the wolves, and you see everybody running through. Very interesting stuff. Okay, one more for the road, and then we'll make a decision. Christopher Robin. This is the latest trailer for Christopher Robin. We actually get to see more of the other characters. That's just in Spanish for some reason. I don't know why.
But the thing with this trailer is, especially the look of the characters, they're more looking like the traditional original book. So don't expect the kind of more modern, bright colors, smooth bottoms.
Well, I don't think it's just that. It's even also like, oh, they're older stuffed animals, so they're faded and they're they look worn out. I think that's part of it. Like that's why Tigger looks like so old, because he's led a hard life, jumping around everywhere, looking for that next high.
Exactly.
But I guess this is the Spanish version, but it's still very interesting. Like you see a lot more of the character. I actually think they spoil a bit of the movie, to be honest, in the trailer. Like you see Christopher Robin going back into the world where these characters live, and then returning and them coming back into the real world. So spoilers.
Yeah, the whole concept is pretty much Pooh wants to find his friends again and needs help from Christopher Robin.
Or like I think part of the first one is like part of the first introduction is like, oh, Christopher Robin needs him, and so he shows up to help him make a decision in his life, whether he's essentially going to choose family or work, and which is the priority. And is reminded of like, oh, childhood is important and you only get one. And so if you can't spend the time with your child, that's going to affect them in life. That's time you're never going to get back to spend with your children. And then, then it goes on Pooh coming back to get the kid, or to find Christopher Robin in our world, and all the other characters coming as well. And that introduces it to like the larger concept of the world, like kind of like Paddington Bear did.
Oh yeah.
A little bit.
Oh yeah. So people are going to watch this for sure. It got my attention. Yeah, because I definitely was a grown up all with
like the
Winnie
first trailer didn't do really good job of like showing what was possible. It's just Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin, I guess.
Yeah.
I was like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
So it's almost like Hook, because like how Peter Pan grew up. In this case, Christopher Robin. Grew up.
A very similar concept of what happened to this character when they grew up. Exactly. In that respect, yes. So 6 trailers, man. Which one would you pick as your winner?
Honestly, believe it or not, Christopher Robin.
Christopher Robin. I'm gonna go with Mowgli. Mowgli won me over just because it's a story I haven't heard before. We've all seen the Jungle Book. I think Mowgli is a more adult version of that original storyline. Yeah. So like I liked the cultural impact. I liked the few scenes of like Indian culture and like festivals. Definitely. As well as other things. But that worked for me.
Did you ever watch I think it was called Mowgli's Story, where they try to do like a sequel? They had it with the characters too, but non-speaking animals.
Oh yeah, I think I remember what you mean. Yeah. It was just like a lot of like looking around and Mowgli doing a lot of the voiceover talking.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's it for the show, ladies and gentlemen. We have 2 winners, Mowgli and Christopher Robin. Of all the trailers we've seen these last 2 weeks, I think The Predator was the big loser. But that's just my opinion. But before we go, I want to make sure to remind you, the 2 of us are going to be at the Claremont Packing House in Claremont, California on Saturday, June the 3rd, 2018.
So you see the boys from Geekbots Podcast live.
He'll be selling some items. I'll be selling some books, writing under the name R.A. Mejia. I do some writing as well. Have a 3rd book in the Adventures on Terror series come out. It's a fantasy novel that includes like game mechanics, fantasy stuff, and RPG mechanics in this interesting world. It's the 3rd book in the series, so it'll be fun, interesting to actually sell live print versions to people who want to buy them, and to see if I can convince people to buy an actual physical book. Or you can just buy them as ebooks.
I got toys.
Yeah. So either things.
Live.
We'll do some live stuff there. So
we'll probably do the little filming on the spot kind of thing. If anything, especially if you're local to the area, Claremont, California. So June 3rd is coming up Sunday.
Is it a Saturday? Oh, it's a Sunday?
Sunday. So this Sunday, folks, June 3rd. Starts at 10 a.m. You can get there a little early if you want a little sneak peek of what's popping up. But we'll be there till like 5 o'clock. And if anything, depending how the day goes, maybe we might party a little afterwards.
Very nice.
Or at least enjoy a good meal.
Good meal is probably going to be the case.
Exactly.
But that's it for the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for hanging out, watching with us. If you want to support the podcast in any way, shape, or form, you can find out all the ways to do so at
geekbytespodcast.com/support.
Thanks again, folks, for listening, for watching, for letting us geek out about the things that we love. For Geek Bytes Podcast, though, I am Ramon Mejia.
I'm Edgardo Acosta.
And remember, folks, till we hang out, to go geek out about something.
See you Sunday.